Okay, Caleb. Gandhar sir is there. Sir.
नमस्कार गंधार सर.
नमस्कार नमस्कार सावंत सर नमस्कार. नितीन नमस्कार.
नमस्कार.
स्वागत आहे.
हो धन्यवाद. मलाच आनंद आहे. छान छान.
राजेंद्र जोशी सर नमस्कार.
नमस्कार सर. नमस्कार. नमस्कार
जोशी साहेब, सावंत साहेब नमस्कार.
नमस्कार.
सावंत साहेब नमस्कार.
नमस्कार मेननजी.
तुमच्यासाठी गंधार सर, तुमच्यासाठी आहे, रात्रीची वेळ आहे पण तरी तुम्ही ऍग्री केलं. छान आहे.
गंधार सर नमस्कार.
नमस्कार नमस्कार. फार उशीर नाहीये. 9:09 वाजतायत.
हा ठीक आहे.
11:30 होतं झोपायला. काही केलं तरी 11:30च्या आधी काही झोपणं होतच नाही.
एका मिनिटात चालू करूया आपण.
हो होऊ द्या उद्या. तुमच्या सगळ्या शेड्यूल प्रमाणे होऊ द्या. काय अडचण.
बरेचसे लोक लाईव्ह स्ट्रीम वर गेले असतील युट्यूब वर. आणि हा लिंक पण आहे तिकडे. काही लोक इकडे. Good evening all. Today we'll start our Yoga Pushpanjali program. This is Dwitiya Pushpa. As per the Vyvan's tradition, I will request Sonali ma'am to take Omkars and Prarthana. And then we'll continue with the.
Thank you, Nitin sir. Namaskar, Gandhar sir. And good evening, everyone. As per Yoga Vidya Niketan's tradition, we will start our second Pushpa of Yoga Pushpanjali with 3 Omkar followed by prayer. So sit straight, take your shoulder back and straighten your back. Your chin is parallel to the floor. Look straight. And now slowly and gently close your eyes. Just observe your breath. Your breathing is going natural and normal. Breathe in fully each time for each Omkar. So inhale fully. Swaha Tasaviturenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodaya. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanam Bhunaktu Sahavirya Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Asatoma Svigamaya Damasoma Mrityorgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Keep your eyes closed for a while. Feel the vibration of Omkar and prayer on your body and mind. Now slowly and gently open your eyes. Thank you all. Over to Nitin sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonali ma'am, for the prayer. We'll immediately start our program. Good evening and welcome all for this Yoga Pushpanjali lecture series. All of you know that on every Sunday, first Sunday of every month, we will be having this series for 12 months as a celebration for the Golden Jubilee year. Same time at 4:30, we'll be meeting on first Sunday of every month. And this is the Dwitiya Pushpa, the second Pushpa from this series. And we are going to offer you the handful of beautiful flowers, 12 flowers every month during this year. It will be our consistent effort to find eminent speakers to offer these flowers as a yoga celebration. Okay. This time we have chosen the topic, the psychology of Yoga Sutras. The reason for choosing this topic is that in today's world, it is inevitable that everybody among us has a stress at different levels of the in day-to-day life. It's everywhere, in the professional life, in the office, in the home, everywhere. And if somebody is fortunate not having on these three fronts, then he will have stress anywhere. Maybe in the traffic jam also, you will have a stress. So I mean to say that stress will catch you up anywhere in the every walk of the day-to-day life. That is the thing. And you know, when some stress is there, say stress is there, it is good. For students, the stress of examination will keep them motivating to study. At office, it will motivate you to perform. But when it crosses the threshold limit, the eustress becomes de-stress. And that is a dreadful thing, which, and all of you know, that de-stress is the cause of all ailments. How to deal it with yoga, or how yoga will help you. All these questions, for these questions, we have got today's speaker, and he is an authority on this subject. So without wasting much time, I now request Jaya Madam to introduce him to all of you. Over to Jaya Madam, please.
Thank you, Nitin sir. So, namaste everyone. See, whenever we think of psychology, the name of Sigmund Freud comes to our mind. But almost 2000 years before Sigmund Freud, Maharishi Patanjali has given the word the subtlest aspects of mind. As students of yoga, we all are well acquainted with Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. More than the physical aspects, Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, they deal with the psychological aspects of yoga. Among the various darshans in Indian philosophy, Patanjal Yoga Darshan is considered as one of the finest work on human psychology. Today we have with us Shri Gandhar Mandlik sir, the director of Yoga Vidya Gurukul Nashik, who has the immense understanding of yoga and its psychological aspects. He is also the director of international yoga programs at Yoga Vidya Gurukul, and he has been coordinator for yoga training activities in 14 countries like Singapore, Indonesia, Germany, UK, Australia, US, Canada, etc. He has a diversified educational qualification. After completing the bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, he did his master's in clinical psychology. And since July 2019, he is pursuing his PhD from University of Sydney, where he is the Faculty of Medicine and Health. He has published various research papers in international journals. His two papers, beneficial effects of various yoga practices on COVID-19, and not all yoga styles are the same, are already published. He has authored 2 books and has also written over 100 papers, articles on yoga. His 2 more articles are in publications, and those topics are also very interesting. One is effect of a single session of yoga and meditation on stress reactivity, a systematic review. And the other one is traditional yoga versus exercise-based yoga styles, a comparison for their effect on stress. He has also received Swami Kuvalananda Research Award for Excellence and Innovation in Yoga Research. Being a clinical psychologist and with all this research work, he surely is a very competent person to speak over the psychological aspects of Yoga Sutras. There is one more important information about him. He has been given Rishi Sannyas Diksha by Swami Niranjanananda Saraswati of Bihar School of Yoga in 2006 and changed his name to Rishi Dharmachandra. With this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, on behalf of Yoga Vidya Niketan and all the participants here who are eagerly waiting to hear your views on the subject. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Hari Om to everyone. My humble pranams to Guruji, Nimbalkar Guruji. When I was very young, I remember meeting him with my father. So I have seen him for almost 40 years. And I have got a lot of fond memories of Adaraniya Nimbalkar Guruji. The last time I met him, I could feel that warmth that I received from him. Also, I just want to highlight one thing which is going to be a theme of today's lecture, and that is Vairagya. And I have seen it in Nimbalkar Guruji. When I visited him, I could see the simplicity in everything that he had developed in his own personality. It is one of the most important aspects of yoga, and I'm going to talk about it today. Everyone understands the definition of yoga in Ashtanga Yoga, which is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Chitta is a word which is often connected with mind. And that's how we say Yoga Sutras is a study of mind, that is psychology. Technically, the Chitta word is actually the whole of consciousness, the total consciousness. The subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the unconscious mind. All together, we can say this is Chitta. And Vritti, framework, how the mind works, how the thoughts come, how the emotions work, all framework we can say. Karya Pranali, Man ki Karya Pranali. That we can say Chitta. Now if we say why this is the focus of Yoga Sutras, I tell you a little interesting story which might just help you understand the importance of this mind. There was a soldier, and this soldier was a part of a platoon. There's an army soldier. One day, the captain of that platoon told his soldiers that they need to tomorrow go to a place, and the journey is via boat. So they have to get on the boat and go. Now this soldier, he had a phobia of water. It was a fear of dying in the water. And that resulted in the soldier getting panic attacks even when he is on the boat. Now captain's order, we all know that we cannot say no to that. So he had to go there. The moment the boat started its journey, it started shaking, and then this soldier got panic attack. It's quite sad situation for him. He started saying, "Oh, I can't breathe. I think I'm going to die. Started crying, shouting. It was awful situation. कि हालत बहुत खराब हो गई. तो जो कप्तान था उसने वो जो बोट का चलाने वाला था चालक उसको बुला के उसने बोला कि चलो भाई वापस जाते हैं, इसको डॉक्टर के पास छोड़ देते हैं. ड्रॉप हिम टू द डॉक्टर, एडमिट हिम टू द हॉस्पिटल. That boat driver was a senior guy and he was very smart. He said, Captain, give me a few minutes. Let me try my little technique. If it works, no problem. He'll be okay. If it doesn't work, we'll go back. Captain said, okay. But make sure you don't hurt the soldier. The boat driver, he said, don't worry. I will handle it. After 5 minutes, he came back. The captain asked him, how is this soldier? The boat driver said, Captain, he is perfectly fine. You can talk to him. Say, really? You made him fine within 5 minutes? Say, yes, sir. So what did you do? The boat driver replied, sir, I didn't do much. It's okay. Captain said, no, tell me what you did. Say, okay. I went there. Then I pushed him in the water. What? Why did you do that? Pushed him in the water. Then what? Then, sir, he started drowning. Then I pulled him out. Then I put him in the boat. Then he's quiet. He's feeling perfectly all right. The captain was confused. He said, how is it possible? The driver explained, sir, his fear was of drowning in the water. So whenever he used to sit in the boat, he used to think that he will drown in the water. That was the association that his mind had made with boat. Association was, if he sits in the boat, he'll drown. But then when I pushed him in the water, he actually experienced drowning. Because he started drowning. This was the fear that he had all through his life. And then when I pulled him out of the water and put him in the boat, he realized he's not drowning anymore. So what changed? His mind changed. And his mind started associating safety with the boat instead of drowning with the boat. So the change was in perception. The change was not anywhere else. And this is mana. Mana eva manushanam karanam bandha mokshayo. He said the mind is a source of all our sufferings in life. And it is a source of all our freedom in life. And this is the subject of not just Ashtanga Yoga, but the whole of yoga science. Go through Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna has talked about mind. Hatha Yoga, mind. Ashtanga Yoga, mind. So important. And Ashtanga Yoga has explored the reasons for the suffering of this mind. I was talking to my father and I asked him, give me a very, very, very brief summary of sutras. I was talking with Honorable respected Sawant sir, and I told him that because of this lecture, I had to study a lot. So I was taking some guidance from my father also. So I said, make it very brief. He said, okay, 4 words. Say, okay, what are those 4 words? And they just stuck in my head. He said, the first is study of mind. Analysis and study of mind. The second word, he said, is management and control of mind. Third, exploring the positive, higher dimensions of the mind, Vibhutipad. Second, management and control of mind, Sadhanapad. First, study and analysis, that is Samadhipad, first one. And the last one, dissolution of mind. Bringing that mind in union with the cosmic dimensions. This is what the Yoga Sutras talk about. If you are a doctor, medical professional, you can also see the similar things. First is the study and analysis of this disease. Then you have diagnosis and treatment. And then you talk about remission and prevention. So this journey of Yoga Sutra is also similar. And it starts in suffering dimension. Probably when Patanjali started, he never probably had experienced samadhi. I'm just hypothetical situation. Or when Buddha started his journey, Buddha is his contemporary of Patanjali, similar time periods. Buddha's journey we know well documented that he was depressed. He was very depressed. And in that depression, he left all his family and everything. And then he went into forest and he practiced so many yoga techniques. So his journey started in depression. That's how you can see a lot of negative dimensions explored by Patanjali in the first chapter. Antaray, Vikshepa Sahabhuva, Klesha, Vritti, Aklishta and Klishta. The Klishta Vritti resulting in Klesha. And Antaray coming along with it. So all this is negative dimensions. And the journey is to find the end of this suffering, end of these negative dimensions. One day I asked one of my psychology professors, because if you study psychology, you will study what Sigmund Freud said, what Carl Jung said, what Adler said, what so many other psychologists they talked about. And most of them, they have talked about personality theories. That is like a foundation of psychology, personality theories. And in those personality theories, these psychologists have explored the negative dimensions of the mind, like what causes anxiety, what causes depression, what causes psychosis, neurosis, so many psychological disorders. If you look at the psychological disorder manual, it's called APA, American Psychiatrist Association Manual, a DSM-5 now. They have this manual called DSM-5, and it lists all the psychological disorders. When Sigmund Freud started this journey of psychology, there were only two problems he listed: psychosis and neurosis. And now we have 250 plus psychological problems. There's an unending list of increasing problems. That is all the study of negative aspects of our mind. So I asked my professor that, okay, this is all the study of negative dimensions and how to try and come out of it. Has psychology studied positive dimensions? How deep, how negative the mind goes, मन कितना नीचे जा सकता है, उसका तो पूरा अभ्यास किया गया है साइकोलॉजी में. मन कितना ऊपर जा सकता है, उसकी प्रगति कितनी हो सकती है, इसका अभ्यास किया है क्या? ये सवाल मैंने पूछा. एंड माय प्रोफेसर आंसर्ड. उन्होंने जवाब दिया, अनफॉर्चुनेटली नॉट येट. अब तक नहीं हुआ है. And this is where the whole science of yoga and especially Yoga Sutras come into picture. They have studied how positive dimensions can be reached. What are the techniques that we can use? How much further up we can go? And Patanjali has given a list of, we call them psychic powers. I don't know why we call them psychic powers. Because in Sanskrit, they are called Siddhi. Siddhi is perfection. Siddhi is not a psychic power. So one can achieve it. It's with certainty. They have made a claim with certainty. Yes, this is what's going to happen. And it's there in everywhere. Hatha Yoga talks about it. Ashtanga Yoga has it. Shri Krishna already had all of these powers. Because that is the positive dimension of the mind. That's being explored by Yoga Sutras along with other science of yoga. Of course, I am not going to talk on the positive dimensions because it's a subject of everyone trying their best to achieve that. And our gurus and our rishis and munis, they have shown that. You also probably have experienced it with your gurus. But let's talk about these negative dimensions, because that is what bothers us the most. And in fact, Patanjali has also given a lot of importance to these negative dimensions in the first chapter. He's talked about Antaraya, Vyadhi, Sthana, Samshaya, Pramada, Alasya, Avirati, Bhranti, Darshana, Alabdha, Bhumikatva, Anavasthitatva. And then Vikshepa Sahabhuva, Dukkha, Daurmanasya, Angamejayatva, Shvasa, Prashvasa. You see, what are these? Vyadhi, diseases. Sthana, dullness. Samshaya, doubt. Procrastination, Pramada. Laziness, Alasya. And so on. Vikshepa Sahabhuva, Dukkha, depression. Daurmanasya, Angamejayatva. These are all anxiety, depression, Shvasa Prashvasa, like shaking of the body. That is anxiety. So you can say anxiety, depression, similar thing. So psychological problems. So physiological, psychological problems he's talked about. Now, are these connected with mind somehow? Because we started with mind, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Does mind have any connection with physical problems? Does mind have any connection with psychological problems? Of course, mind is psychological problems, we understand. But does mind, मन का शारीरिक रोगों से कुछ संबंध है क्या? I'll tell you research. My subject is that now. I'm studying, my faculty is medicine faculty. So I have to study all these medical frameworks to how these diseases are there and all this, how they are in our body and what is the cause of it and etiology and all of that. So I'll tell you stress. We all understand that stress is in the mind. The first story that I told you of that soldier, where was the stress? The stress was in his mind. The fear was in his mind. And it reflected on his physical level. So that's exactly how the stress in our life works. Respected Nitinji was talking about stress. And he made very good points. He made very good briefing introduction of this subject. So I'm just going to pick up what Nitinji has already said. It's very well understood in the medical field what are the effects of stress. Once the stress reaction is triggered in our body, it gets triggered in the brain. There is a part in the brain called amygdala. That is where the stress starts. Remember this part because I'm going to give you some researches those researches are something that will change your perspective on this different yoga practices, and probably you will have lot more respect to Patanjal. So anyway, that stress starts in amygdala. It's a central part in your brain. And from there, it goes down and it triggers various hormonal glands. And then finally, we have stress hormones in our body. The main stress hormone that everyone understands is cortisol. And I'll stick with that, cortisol. Now, there is so much evidence that cortisol, if it stays longer in our body, it damages everything. I'm being very, very careful. Everything in our body is damaged by higher levels of cortisol staying for longer duration. I'm not talking about short duration. Short duration cortisol anyway is important. So don't think that if you don't have cortisol at all, then you are wow, best. No, if you have lowest cortisol, even common cold can kill you. So cortisol is essential, but higher levels of cortisol for longer duration are a problem. So what do they do? Basically, the cortisol damages your heart, damages your arteries, damages the brain, damages your digestive mechanisms, damages your reproductive hormones, damages your thyroid balance, throws everything out of balance, damages your sleep, damages your protein metabolism and sugar metabolism. The moment you have cortisol, your sugar go up, your blood pressure go up, your blood clotting time reduces. So if this cortisol stays high, your sugar will stay high, blood pressure will stay high, and clotting time will reduce, means your blood will have coagulate, and there will be some kind of blockages it can create. So basically, the stress is what damages everything. Does stress have a relation with only some diseases? I would say every disease, physical disease, have connection with stress. Someone will ask, what about COVID? COVID is caused by virus. वो विषाणु से जो होता है उसे स्ट्रेस का क्या संबंध है? The studies say that those people who were very stressed, they actually ended up in hospitals during COVID. And the people who had no stress, even though they were obese, even though they had diabetes, but that time the stress was less, nothing happened to them. Stress played a very, very major part, because the moment you are stressed, the moment cortisol is high, your immune system is suppressed. That is how it works in your body. It's a mechanism of the body. Cortisol high, immune system is suppressed. So cancer is also caused by stress, because if immune system is suppressed, the cancer cells can't be killed effectively, because immune system is weak. So I am telling you that stress has connection with everything. Psychological, every psychological disorder, these 200 plus disorders that I was talking about from this diagnostic and statistical manual, the one that is used in today's world, every disorder has stress as a risk factor. Now this stress has different forms. Anxiety is also stress, because anxiety also increases cortisol. Depression is also stress, because depression increases cortisol, quite high levels of cortisol. Anger, higher cortisol. So anger, fear, depression, all of these are nothing but stress related forms. And now I told you that stress is our perception. Anger is our perception. Fear is our perception. If we look at our quality of life today, the fears that we have, they have increased. We think our life has become better. Let me share a survey with you. Just today only, one of my professors just forwarded that. The fantastic thing, in last 10 years in America, the psychological problems, the adolescents, kids basically, the kids facing all these problems has increased 48%. It's unbelievable. It's a crazy number. In India also it's increasing. So we saying that our life is getting better, it's actually going down, quite strongly going down. We seriously need a rethink as to why this downturn is happening. Is there something seriously wrong we are doing with the mind, which is making us pay a big price? So naturally, these negative dimensions have become the focus of Yoga Sutras. Like it is the focus for Bhagavan Buddha's philosophy, or it is the focus for Bhagavad Gita, it is also the focus of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And Patanjali has tried to explore the reasons for this. Why these negative dimensions of stress, which results in Vyadhis, Dhyana, Samshaya, Pramada, all that, and Kleshas, and Vikshepa, Sabhu, all of that. That is basically stress dimensions. What causes it? How the starting point of this is there. In Kathopanishad is a very beautiful verse which says that Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi, Shariram Rathamevatu, Buddhim tu Sarathim Vidhi, Manah Pragrahamevacha. It's a beautiful description. There's a chariot, and the chariot is our body. And this chariot has 5 horses. And these 5 horses are 5 sensory organs: eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue. The rein, लगाम जो है, वो रथ, वो जो घोड़ों की, वो है मन, माइंड. वो लगाम जिसके हाथ में है वो है सारथी, वो है बुद्धि. रथ शरीर, 5 घोड़े ज्ञानेंद्रिय, पंच ज्ञानेंद्रिय. लगाम जो है वो है मन, सारथी जो है वो बुद्धि, और जो रथ का मालिक है, रथ का रथी है, वो है आत्मा, आत्मानम रथिनम. अब ये मुश्किलें कहां से शुरू होती है? उसके लिए ये रथ की जर्नी, ये रथ का जो मार्ग है, रथ का जो मार्ग क्रमण है, उसको समझना जरूरी है.
मतलब योगा तो सेलिब्रेशन है.
This is the same subject that is discussed by Shri Krishna in 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's very parallel to what Kathopanishad has talked about. Patanjali has also talked about it. I'll make references to that because this is a very important subject for all of us as yoga aspirants. These horses, which are sensory organs, they are looking at sensory objects. For example, our tongue. Tongue is always looking for tasty, good, delicious food. The food is the object. जब मैंने खाने पीने की बात की है तो मन में क्या हो रहा है, कहाँ जा रहा है मन? हाँ, यहाँ वहाँ, अरे वो तो गुलाब जाम, वो तो ये खाना है, वो तो वो खाया था, अरे कैसा था, बढ़िया, आज क्या कर रहे हैं, आज क्या खाना बना रहा है. What is that sensory organ doing? It's pulling your mind. वो मन को खींच के लेके जा रहा है. और मन क्या करता है? बुद्धि को पूछता है, अरे वो कल जो समोसे खाए थे उससे अच्छे समोसे कहाँ मिलते हैं? तो बुद्धि सोचती है कि भाई कहाँ से मिलना है, कहाँ से इसको देना है. This is the sensory organ pulling the mind and the mind pulling the intellect. Why is this important? I'll tell you some statistics. In today's world, in Western countries, currently I'm in Australia, I can tell you data from Australia, but it is very similar to the European countries and US. 62 to 66%, pay attention, 62 to 66% people are classified as obese. Obese, obese means above 28 BMI, 28-30 BMI, very obese. 62% plus people. तो आप बोलेंगे अरे फिर भारतवर्ष में तो इतने नहीं है. भारतवर्ष में 55% का आंकड़ा हम लोगों ने छू लिया है. और अगले 5 साल में वो 60% के पार जाना तय है। अब ओबेसिटी कहां से आती है? अनियंत्रित इंद्रिय। शुरुआत तो यही होती है। ऐसा तो नहीं है ना, हवा से वजन बढ़ता है, पानी से वजन बढ़ता है। लोग डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं, डॉक्टर पूछता है भाई कितना वजन बढ़ गया, पेशेंट बोलता है नहीं डॉक्टर कुछ खाया तो कुछ नहीं है, ऐसे ही वजन बढ़ जाता है। पॉसिबल नहीं है। एक और सर्वे बताता हूं मैं आपको, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग सर्वे, रिमेंबर दिस, डोंट फॉरगेट। A survey was done, a research was done, and the researchers asked people, how much you exercise? आप व्यायाम कितना करते हैं और आप खाना कितना खाते हैं? और वो लिख लिया रिसर्चर्स ने। और ये जो था डेटा, उन्होंने कंपेयर किया, वो जो जिन लोगों को पूछा था उनके घर वालों को या दोस्तों को पूछा कि भाई ये कितना खाते हैं और कितना एक्सरसाइज करते हैं, और ये कंपेयर किया। तो रिजल्ट्स जो है वो आप सबको हंसी पक्का लाएंगे आपके चेहरे पे। रिजल्ट्स ये बोलते हैं कि हम जितना खाते हैं उससे आधा बोलते हैं, माने जितना खाते हैं उससे आधा ही खाते हैं ऐसे बोलते हैं, और जितना एक्सरसाइज करते हैं उससे डबल बोलते हैं। माने अभी योग शिक्षक बहुत से है योगिनी के, तो आप सब लोगों को मालूम है क्लास में सिंसियरली कौन आता है और कौन नहीं आता है। जो नहीं आता है उसके घर वालों को यदि वो किसी को बोलता है तो नहीं बोलेगा कि मैं आधे दिन नहीं गया, लेकिन नहीं मैं तो रेगुलर हूँ, बहुत सिंसियर हूँ। और खाना तो ऐसे ही है, जितना खाते हैं उससे आधा ही बोलते हैं। नहीं कहाँ खाया मैंने, तो एक ही चपाती खाता हूँ। एक चपाती, अरे एक चपाती उसके साथ कितना और खाना खाया? नहीं वो एक दिन हो गया, हर रोज नहीं होता है वो। एक there was one prime minister of UK, you all know him, Winston Churchill, very big obese guy. So one journalist asked Winston Churchill in one of the press conferences, and it was a very sarcastic question. He asked him, Mr. Prime Minister, do you ever think of doing exercise? आप कभी व्यायाम के बारे में सोचते भी है? It was a sarcastic question. Winston Churchill was a very intelligent man. He replied, of course, yes. I think of exercise every day when I wake up. The journalist said, oh, really? You think every day? What happens then? Churchill smiled and he said, जब मेरे मन में विचार आता है व्यायाम का, तो मैं चद्दर सर के ऊपर ओढ़ के बिस्तर में ही पड़ा रहता हूं जब तक कि वो विचार चला नहीं जाता। दिस इज अ केस विथ ऑल ऑफ अस। ऐसा ही होता है। हम संकल्प लेते हैं कि भाई कल सुबह से योगा के क्लास को जाना ही है, लेकिन होता क्या है, कल तो शनिवार है, शनिवार को तो अच्छी चीज शुरू नहीं करते ना, तो निर्णय क्या होता है, सोमवार से करेंगे। 2 ही दिन है ना, शनिवार और रविवार, सोमवार से चालू। लेकिन गलती से वो सोमवार 26 तारीख को आता है, तो बोलते हैं अरे यार 26 तारीख है, 4 ही दिन बचे, नए महीने की शुरुआत है, 1 तारीख से करेंगे शुरू। अब वो 1 तारीख है दिसंबर की, अब दिसंबर की तारीख है तो बोलते हैं नहीं यार, ये तो नए साल का संकल्प लेके नए साल से शुरू करते हैं। अब नया साल आता है तो कोई बहाना नहीं बना सकते, उठ के करना ही है। तब हमारा देशाभिमान, संस्कृति का अभिमान जागृत होता है और हम बोलते हैं नहीं भाई, ये तो अंग्रेजों का नया साल है, हमारा नया साल कब आएगा? पाड़वा वो तो अप्रैल में आएगा, तब देखेंगे। This is exactly how the mind works. Sensory organs keep pulling us in every direction. The eyes tell us, let's have some beautiful things, get new phone, get new dress, get new things. The skin says, oh, I want nice clothes, I want good things, aircon and all of this. This is all sensory desires. These sensory desires keep pulling the horses in different directions. And they pull the mind in turn. And that's how we lose the control of mind. And this is the primary cause underlined in all of our yogic sciences. पतंजलि मुनि ने योग की व्याख्या की, योग चित्त वृत्ति निरोधा। अब ये जो चित्त है उसको नियंत्रित करने के दो तरीके पतंजलि ने बताए हैं। पहला जो बताया है उन्होंने वो है अभ्यास, और दूसरा जो बताया है वो है वैराग्य। अब अभ्यास और वैराग्य की बात तो सब लोगों ने की है, बहुत बार की है। और अभ्यास वैराग्य से ही वृत्तियों का निरोध होता है, ऐसे पतंजलि मुनि ने कहा है। सूत्र नंबर है 12, पहला पाद, सूत्र नंबर 12, अभ्यास वैराग्याभ्याम तन्निरोधः। अब ये जो वैराग्य है ये क्या है? वही मैं बता रहा था, इंद्रियों का नियंत्रण, सेंसरी डिजायर्स का कंट्रोल। अभ्यास की बात तो सबको मालूम है। अभ्यास माने अष्टांग, यम नियम आसन प्राणायाम प्रत्याहार धारणा ध्यान समाधि। इसकी बात तो बहुत दूसरा पाद पूरा इसी के लिए पतंजलि ने डिवोट किया है। और ऋषि पतंजलि का जो वैराग्य की जो बात है वो पहले अध्याय में आई है, पहले पाद में आई है। एंड दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। द सेंसरी डिजायर्स दे पुल अस and they create stress. The stress reaction in our body is caused by the sensory desires. भगवद गीता में भी इसका वर्णन आया है। इंद्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभम मनः। ये जो इंद्रिय है ये मन का हरण करते हैं। The mind is pulled apart by the sensory organs. What creates stress in our life? Money. Why money is important? Money is important because money allows us to buy our sensory pleasures. If the money does not allow us to buy iPhone tomorrow, we will have no value for money. The money is important because it allows us to buy the sensory happiness, which is momentary. This is known to us. The sensory pleasures are momentary. They are not permanent. Research was done. If you eat something really good, very delicious, how long the happiness remains? The research says that the happiness remains for not more than 2 hours or 3 hours. This happiness is connected with some brain chemicals. For example, dopamine, one of the brain chemicals. But these levels of these chemicals go down. If you get a lot of money, the dopamine can remain high for maybe 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. After that, the dopamine goes down. If you get millions of dollars, there was one research that was done on a person who won a lottery. And this person won that lottery and his dopamine and his happiness went up very high. But it remained high only for 6 months. After 6 months, it started dropping. So his happiness started dropping. His money did not drop. I'm telling you something very interesting. His money was there and it was increasing because he invested it properly. But his happiness started dropping because his brain chemical levels started dropping. And this is what the yogis understood. Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna is saying, Matra sparshas tu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkhada, agama paina anityaha. सुख दुख निर्माण करने वाले जो इंद्रिय विषय है, ये क्षण के लिए है, अनित्य है, उसमें नित्यता नहीं है कुछ, लेकिन उससे दुख ही निर्माण होता है, उसकी परिणति दुख में ही है. शुगर makes us happy. How long? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour? Someone has asked me a question. The answer is yes, you're right. How long the sugar keeps your dopamine high? 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But what happens after that? That is more important. The sugar makes our brain addictive because of the mechanism of dopamine. I'm not getting into that. All our addictive behaviors are connected with these sensory pleasures, but they don't last long. Today, if I eat one chocolate, I get, say, 10 units of dopamine, for example, just as a rough estimate. Tomorrow, if I eat one chocolate, I don't get 10 units of dopamine. I get 5 units of dopamine. So I need 2 chocolates to have 10 units. And that's how we end up in addictions. Because of the mechanism of the brain. And what are these addictions? They are sensory organ related. This is exactly how we start with the stress. And this is the subject Patanjali has given a lot of importance under Vairagya. So we need to control the sensory organs. Without that, we cannot go ahead. Patanjali has given yama niyama for that. We miss that and we go to asanas. Well, you can start with asanas, but you need not give up on these first aspects, which are very, very important in psychology. Because addiction, every one of us has some addiction. These days we are addicted to WhatsApp, addicted to Instagram, Facebook, Telegram, videos. I tell you, new studies, just last year it came out. If you are using social media for more than 90 minutes in a day, remember, if you are using social media and these apps or mobile use for more than 90 minutes, you have 300% more chance of getting psychological problems, which is a massive jump as far as risk factor is concerned. And this is sensory organs. We want better phones. And how do we select the phone? I need to select the phone that has the best camera. What do you mean by best camera? The camera that makes me look better than how I am. Then I'm going to purchase that phone. Because my selfie comes so much better than how I look. It's crazy things. This is sensory organs. And they are creating stress in our day-to-day life. And do you know another research, which is again more worrying? If you have stress, then you are more likely to abuse the sensory desires. Say, if you are stressed, you will eat more sweets. If you are stressed, you will drink more alcohol. If you are stressed, people smoke more. So it's like a negative, vicious cycle that takes you down. And that's the reason why Patanjali has talked about Vairagya in 12th Sutra, starting with that. And he says, निरोध, वृत्तियों का निरोध करने के लिए अभ्यास और वैराग्य चाहिए. अभ्यास माने यम नियम आसन प्राणायाम प्रत्याहार धारणा ध्यान समाधि और वैराग्य. Vairagya has been given equal importance. And this is one of the most important aspects that have been consistently mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Sutras, Hatha Yoga, Upanishads, and which is missing in today's yoga practice. I am meeting so many people here. They say, oh, teach me some yoga so I can manage my stress, so I can be more, I can earn more money, or I can be super successful businessman. That is a sensory dimension. However hard you try, it will ultimately create stress for you. That's what is this idea of Vairagya is highlighted, underlined. Of course, some of these techniques will give relief to your corporate stress and your family things and all other things. That is obvious because asanas and pranayama, they have their powerful effects. Everyone knows about it, and all of the teachers have been talking about it. Every book of yoga, respected Nimbalkar Guruji's books have also given very scientific explanation of how these effects are experienced. So everyone knows about that. But the root cause of that is given as this one. And now how to deal with this? That's very important. Sensory control. If you start controlling your sensory organs, what happens? If you suddenly tell yourself tomorrow, oh, stop eating sugar, is it possible? Doesn't happen. No, people, these days there's new fad that has come. It's called intermittent fasting. There's a lot of debate going on in my university center, which is one of the topmost medical research centers in the world. There's a lot of research going on intermittent fasting. So I keep reading it every day. There's a conflicting results of intermittent fasting. If someone asks me what is current scientific evidence, I will tell you it's a mixed evidence. Don't take it like intermittent fasting is like the best and like the best trend that you can follow. It's not. In fact, there's so many important things that you cannot achieve with intermittent fasting. You can easily achieve it with restricted calories. Annena purayatardham toyena cha chaturtakam. That has more scientific evidence as compared to intermittent fasting. I'm telling you, scientific evidence. So yogis knew better and more. Just confirming one thing. But anyway, keep that aside. So if you stop sugar from tomorrow, does it really work? You can go on for 7, 8, 10, 15 days. And then one day you eat a lot. Mark Twain was famously asked, we heard that you have quit smoking. Is it very hard? A person asked Mark Twain, and he replied, his reply was fantastic. He said, it's very easy to give up smoking. I have done it 10 times. Every time he give up, started again. Means he did not give up. That is the addictive nature of the sensory desires. So it becomes a problem. If you give up, it creates stress. Someone who stops smoking creates stress. Drugs, addictive drugs. People take addictive drugs. Once they stop, they have these negative effects. And they need to be admitted to rehabilitation centers. Because it creates a problem. Sudden withdrawal is not Good. So these sensory organs need to be controlled in a very systematic way. You will be surprised to see how detailed study Patanjali has done of the mind, how he's dealt with the thoughts, emotions. Very interestingly done. Somehow, some of these aspects, we don't bring it into practice. I am sure Guruji has taught you in Yoga Vidya Niketan. Of course, it's there in his books. For example, I'll give you some basic techniques given. One of the techniques given is the Maitri Karuna Mudita Upeksha. A beautiful technique Patanjali has given. For Dukkha, Sukha, Dukkha, Papa, Punya. He has analyzed the thoughts, what different types of thoughts we have in our mind. Thoughts of pleasure means sensory organ desires. Sukha, that is sensory organ related thoughts. Oh, I need to eat some sugar. It's a thought connected with pleasure. It's a negative thought, we know. I just discussed about it. How to deal with it? Patanjali says Maitri. Because if you fulfill that desire of eating sugar, then you are in trouble. If you stop that desire of eating sugar, then you will eat it after some time. Like I told about Mark Twain and the sugar example. Then how to deal with that? Fantastic psychology of Patanjali. He said, just become a friend with that thought. Ah, sugar, nice. That's it. Stop. If you fight, it will create a conflict in your mind. If you go with it, it will take you down. So don't go with it, but become a friend with that thought. Friendly thought does not create negative reaction. Patanjali is talking about Chitta Prasadanam here. The mind being in the state of peace and positive state. Peaceful and positive. Dukkha, the thoughts of pain and suffering. How to deal with that? It's really painful when we remember something that has happened in our life which is bad. Say we lost some loved one in our life, and we have that thought. Creates so much of suffering. How to deal with that thought? Patanjali says, Karuna, compassion, unconditional love. How is that going to help? I'll give you an example. Your friend, for example, has lost someone in his family or in her family. You go and meet the friend. Give a hug to the friend. For your friend, you have tears. Will that make your friend feel better? Answer is yes. That is compassion. Love, unconditional love. Another very interesting example, which certainly you will agree with me. Shri Ram was sent into exile, 14 years in exile. 14 साल का वनवास भगवान राम को मिला. अब ये जो घटना थी, ये तो दुख निर्माण करने वाली घटना थी. अब वो ये लेके वो सीता माता के पास जाते हैं और माँ सीता को बोलते हैं कि भाई मुझे तो वनवास मिला है. तो दुखी हो गई वो भी, और वो बोलते हैं माँ सीता को कि भाई आप तो यहीं रहो, नहीं तो आप आपके पिताजी के पास चले जाओ, क्योंकि वन में तो आप नहीं आ सकते, क्योंकि वनवास तो मुझे हुआ है, आपको नहीं हुआ है, तो आप क्यों ये भुगते सब. तो माँ सीता कहती कि ये आपने कैसे मान लिया? मेरे लिए तो ये वैभव और कोई मायने नहीं रखता, इसका कोई महत्व नहीं है, मैं तो आपके साथ ही रहूंगी, क्योंकि मैं आपके साथ रहने का संकल्प कर चुकी हूं. ये प्रेम है मेरा कि मैं आपके साथ ही रहूंगी. अब इसके बाद भगवान राम को आनंद हुआ या दुख हुआ? आप सोचो. ये है ताकत करुणा की, प्रेम की। और इसीलिए पतंजलि कहते हैं कि जो भी कोई दुख निर्माण करने वाली चीज है उसके लिए आप करुणा का प्रयोग कीजिए, तो चित्त आपका प्रसादनम, संतोष की स्थिति में आप जाओगे। पुण्य की बात है, हमको लगता है ये बात हमने बहुत अच्छी की है, तो उसे अहंकार बढ़ जाता है। अहंकार न बढ़े इसीलिए क्या करना है, आनंद का अनुभव करना है और छोड़ देना है। वो थॉट, वो जो विचार है उसको मन में रखना नहीं है। ये मन में विचार यदि रखेंगे, ये 4 प्रकार के सुख दुख पाप और पुण्य, ये 4 प्रकार के विचार यदि मन में रहते हैं तो वो मन को डिस्टर्ब करते हैं। इसीलिए पतंजलि ने कहा है कि मन को संतोष, शांत, प्रशांत अवस्था में रखने के लिए ये सब उन्होंने बताया है। अब पाप की बात आ गई, गलत कुछ किया है, कल मैंने किसी को तकलीफ दी है, कल किसी की पैसे चुरा लिए मैंने, जो भी कुछ गलत काम किया है तो उपेक्षा करनी है, नहीं तो उससे क्या होता है, गिल्टी फीलिंग आती है। अब डिप्रेशन की यदि बात करते हैं आप, साइकोलॉजिकली डिप्रेशन की, तो 45 to 60% पीपल हैव डिप्रेशन बिकॉज ऑफ गिल्ट। तो गिल्ट कितना पावरफुल हो गया। एडिक्शंस का रीजन क्या है, यही है, प्लेजर थॉट्स कंटिन्यूअसली। तो ये जो 4 प्रकार के विचारों का एनालिसिस किया है पतंजलि ने, और उसको उन्होंने ट्रीटमेंट भी दिया है कि भाई ये क्या कर सकते हैं। अब ये पहले पाद में दिया है तो इसका महत्व भी है। और पहले पाद में और एक बात कही है जिसका मैं अभी साइंटिफिक उसका एविडेंस भी मैं बताऊंगा। आई टॉक्ट अबाउट अंतराय। आप सब लोगों को अंतराय भी मालूम है, व्याधि, स्त्यान, संशय और फिर दुख और मनस्य, माने फिजिकल और साइकोलॉजिकल सभी डिसऑर्डर्स, डिजीजेस, शारीरिक मानसिक सभी रोग। उसके लिए पतंजलि ने एक उपाय दिया है, 2-4 उपाय दिए हैं। उसमें से पहला उपाय है जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण उपाय है, वो है ओमकार। कार्यक्रम के शुरुआत में सोनाली जी ने ओमकार से शुरुआत की थी और बहुत ही अच्छी आवाज में, अच्छे सुर में उन्होंने प्रार्थना और मंत्र भी कहे थे। तो ओमकार से शुरुआत की थी, तो क्यों की थी? तो ऋषि पतंजलि ने उसका कारण दिया है। वो बोलते हैं कि ये जो सभी अंतराय है, ऑल फिजिकल एंड ऑल साइकोलॉजिकल प्रॉब्लम्स, उसके लिए ओमकार काफी है। माने सूत्र नंबर 29 पतंजलि कहते हैं पहले पाद में कि ओमकार से सभी अंतराय चले जाते हैं। अब आप बोलेंगे, यू विल से, हाउ इज कैंसर रिलेटेड विथ ओमकार चैंटिंग? हाउ इज डिप्रेशन कनेक्टेड विथ ओमकार चैंटिंग? हाउ इज डायबिटीज कनेक्टेड विथ ओमकार चैंटिंग? Patanjali should give Dhanurasan. Patanjali should give some kind of Nauli Kriya. He hasn't. What he has instead done is he's given Omkar. ओमकार से सब चला जाएगा. I tell you research. We all know about S. Vyasa. So S. Vyasa did a research with I think Nimhans, another government mental health institute in Bangalore. Fantastic research, and they published it in a very good journal, and it's one of the first studies that was published. And the study is about Omkar chanting. वो जो रिसर्च किया है, संशोधन किया है, वो कहते हैं कि 10 मिनट का ओमकार, सिर्फ 10 मिनट का ओमकार यदि आप करते हैं आपके मस्तिष्क में एक पार्ट है जिसका नाम है एमिगडेला, जिसको मैंने शुरुआत में बताया था कि जहां से स्ट्रेस की शुरुआत होती है, स्ट्रेस रिएक्शन की शुरुआत वहां से होती है। तो उसको डीएक्टिवेट कर देता है ओमकार चैंटिंग 10 मिनट में। जहां तक मेरी पढ़ाई है, मेरे सामने ऐसी कुछ चीज आई नहीं है ओमकार के सिवा जिससे 10 मिनट में एमिगडेला को शांत कर सकते हैं। कोई पिल नहीं है डॉक्टर्स के पास जिसको एमिगडेला आप शांत कर सकते 10 मिनट में, नहीं हो सकता है। हाँ, यदि कुछ एनास्थेशिया दे देते तो पूरा ब्रेन ही सो जाता है। हाँ? सिर्फ, और फिर जब ब्रेन जागरूक होता है तो फिर से एमिगडेला हाइपर एक्टिवेट हो जाता है, वो शांत नहीं होता है। दिस इज वेरी वेरी सिग्निफिकेंट। पतंजलि ने 2500 साल पहले ओंकार का महत्व इतना बताया था कि उसको तस्य वाचकः प्रणव, ईश्वर का स्वरूप कहा था, और सिर्फ ओंकार से सभी अंतराय चले जाते हैं ऐसा कहा था, जिसका मैं साइंटिफिक एविडेंस दे रहा हूं आपको। यदि एमिगडेला डीएक्टिवेट हो जाता है, शांत हो जाता है, तो स्ट्रेस ही शांत हो गया ना। अब स्ट्रेस चला गया तो सभी शारीरिक और मानसिक रोग चले गए, क्योंकि मैंने तो आपको बताया साइंटिफिक एविडेंस, स्ट्रेस से ही आते हैं सभी शारीरिक और मानसिक रोग। तो ये बहुत महत्व की बात है, और इसीलिए हम हमारी सभी परंपराओं में, योग की परंपराओं में ओंकार से शुरुआत हम करते हैं, ओंकार का जाप करते हैं। अब ओंकार का दूसरा एक बहुत ही बढ़िया साइंटिफिक एविडेंस आया है सामने। ओंकार का जो हमिंग साउंड है, ये जो हमिंग क्रिएट होता है, उसकी वजह से हमारे गले में एक गैस तैयार होता है, उसका नाम है नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड। अब ये जो नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड गैस है, इसका इफेक्ट क्या क्या है देखो। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड इज एंटी बैक्टीरियल, सभी बैक्टीरियाओं को मार सकता है वो, यही एरिया में, इसी एरिया में। दूसरा जो उसका इफेक्ट है एंटी वायरल, तो सभी वायरस को मार सकता है। तीसरा है एंटी फंगल, फंगस को भी मार सकता है। अब सिर्फ यही नहीं रुकता है नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड। नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड का आज मेडिकल फील्ड में उपयोग किया जाता है ब्लड प्रेशर रिड्यूस करने के लिए, क्योंकि वो वैसोडायलेटर है, माने ब्लड वेसल्स है ना, तो उसका प्रसरण करता है वो, जो स्ट्रेस कम हो जाता है, ब्लड प्रेशर कम हो जाता है। अब ओमकार का नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड का ये इफेक्ट है, ओमकार से नाइट्रिक ऑक्साइड क्रिएट होता है, भ्रामरी से भी होता है, ओमकार से भी होता है, भ्रामरी से भी होता है। अब ओमकार से दूसरा इफेक्ट है, और एक ओमकार क्या करता है कि एक नर्व होती है, उसका नाम है वेगस नर्व, तो वो वेगस नर्व को डीएक्टिवेट कर देता है। तो वेगस नर्व को एक्टिवेट करता है। तो वेगस नर्व क्या है? पैरासिम्पैथेटिक, माने वो क्या है? स्ट्रेस के ऑपोजिट काम करती है, स्ट्रेस को कम करने का काम वो नर्व करती है। अब उससे क्या होता है कि पूरे जो हार्मोन्स है शरीर में वो बैलेंस हो जाते हैं। अब देखो आप, सिर्फ ओमकार से क्या क्या हो रहा है, तो यही कारण है, पतंजलि ने कहा है कि भाई आपको अंतराय सब खत्म करने हैं, ओमकार करो। बाकी जो अभ्यास है, यम नियम आसन प्राणायाम प्रत्याहार, उसके बारे में तो बहुत बातें हो गई है, तो उसके बारे में मैं नहीं बात करूंगा। I'll not speak about that. But one thing I'll tell you, some scientific evidence is there for asanas, pranayama. What is the evidence for asanas? It reduces stress. Is it as effective as Omkar? No. It takes longer. You need at least 45 minutes of asanas to reduce stress. Omkar is 10 minutes enough. Meditation, if you want to do, you need at least 25 minutes of meditation to reduce stress. Pranayam is the only one that is comparable with Omkar. Pranayam, 10-minute pranayam is good enough. It can reduce stress. But when you're chanting Omkar, you're also doing deep breathing. So pranayam is also there in Omkar. So that's why if you really want to get rid of these negative dimensions of stress and all of that, Omkar is the best technique. Of course, there are other techniques in Ashtanga Yoga. There's so many things Patanjali has talked about as to how to manage emotions and all of that. One more technique I'll mention and I'll stop because the time is also running out. In the second chapter, दूसरे पाद में पतंजलि ने कहा है प्रतिपक्ष भावनम. भावना जो है, emotions have been given a lot of importance in yoga. The whole path of bhakti yoga is based on emotions management. But Patanjali has also considered that. Now, emotions are very important. Without emotions, we will become robots. Now, if you divide the emotions, positive and negative, most of our emotions are negative. Anger, hatred, jealousy, stress, anxiety, depression, they are all negative. Fear. And they cause all the stress. These emotions, someone makes me angry, and then my cortisol is increased. And it hurts me. It hurts all systems in my body. So potentially, anyone can hurt me. Patanjali has said that no, you must manage your emotions. And he's given this wonderful technique of pratipaksha bhavana. Means what? When you have a particular emotion, you try and change that emotion to positive. And how can you change that? Say if you're getting angry, then change it to love. How can you do that? I'll give you a very quick research and then I'll stop with this discussion on this pratipaksha bhavana. A research was done, fantastic research. A group of people were shown a video. कुछ लोगों को एक वीडियो दिखाया और वो वीडियो में क्या दिखाया था कि एक आदमी बहुत गुस्सा कर रहा है और कुछ चीजें फेंक रहा है, गाली दे रहा है, और सब लोगों को पूछा कि भाई आपको ये आदमी के बारे में क्या, आपकी क्या सोच है. एंड एवरीवन रोट, सबने लिखा कागज पे. तो कागज कलेक्ट कर लिए रिसर्चर्स ने. अब सबने लिखा कि नहीं नहीं हमको ये अच्छा नहीं लगता है आदमी, ये गलत है, ये ऐसे के बर्ताव ठीक नहीं है, नॉट गुड, ऐसे सबने रिमार्क्स लिखे थे. व्हाट हैपेंड आफ्टर दैट, another researcher came in and he said, अरे भाई हम लोगों ने आपको पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन दी नहीं है. एक नई बात ऐसी कि ये जो आदमी आपने देखा है अभी वीडियो पे बहुत गुस्सा कर रहा था, इसके जिंदगी में कल एक बहुत गलत घटना हुई है. उसकी बीबी उसके सबसे खास दोस्त के साथ भाग गई है और दोनों ने इसका सब पैसा भी चुरा के दोनों लेके गए हैं. और फिर वो रिसर्चर ने कहा कि भाई आपको यदि आपका मन, आपका मत जो आपने लिखा है वो बदलना है तो ये नया कागज. उसका नतीजा क्या हुआ? ऑलमोस्ट 80% लोगों ने कहा कि भाई हम लोगों को अभी ये आदमी के बारे में कुछ बुरा नहीं लगता है. क्यों? क्योंकि उनके मन में उसके लिए करुणा थी, और वो करुणा की वजह से उनके मन में पहले जो गुस्सा था वो आदमी के प्रति वो चला गया. यह है प्रतिपक्ष भावना. और हम लोग हमारी रोज की जिंदगी में ये कर सकते हैं. जब भी कोई नेगेटिव इमोशन हावी हो जाती है तो हम उसको बदल सकते हैं, सोच बदल के. और ये पतंजलि ने दिया है, ये कोई नई बात नहीं है. तो यदि आप देखोगे साइकोलॉजी को तो विचार, भावना, आदतें और ये सब बदलते हुए स्ट्रेस रिएक्शन को डीएक्टिवेट, माने स्ट्रेस को कम कैसे करना है, ये सभी आप योग सूत्र में देख सकते हैं और उसकी अनुभूति कर सकते हैं. विषय तो बहुत बड़ा है क्योंकि अब सूत्र के ऊपर निम्बाड़कर गुरुजी का ही अब किताब ले लो, कितना बड़ा है. तो सब चीजें तो हो नहीं सकती हैं. और उसके लिए तो और बहुत बहुत कुछ साल लगेंगे हम सबको वो सब समझने में। तो मुझे लगता है कि इतना काफ़ी है। थोड़ा सा कुछ नई नई बातें, नई चीज़ें मैंने साइंटिफिक पर्सपेक्टिव से भी आपको बताई है। आप ज़रूर उसके ऊपर सोचिए। और मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि मुझे योग विद्या निकेतन के ये कार्यक्रम में आने का मौका मिला है। और मैं बहुत दिल से सभी का, दुर्गादास सावंत सर जी का भी, नितिन जी का भी, राजेंद्र जी का भी, सबका बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ। और फिर से कभी मुलाकात होगी ऐसी आशा भी व्यक्त करता हूँ। धन्यवाद। हरिओम।
धन्यवाद सर, very nice. I know the subject is too vast. Patanjal Yoga Sutra, every time you read, you get new insights, and it's not a subject that could be covered in such a short time, but you made it very, very nice, and it was very finely delivered. I agree that the time was short, or rather, the subject to be covered and the time required are not that proportionate. But one thing I would say, I like that one thing about that addictions. So maybe you have addicted us that we'll have to call you again and again for your lectures. That is one addiction, and that dopamine you have induced in our brains. So be prepared. We will call you again. Definitely in different programs, we will invite you. And thank you very much for that. And I would request Smita madam to give vote of thanks. Smita, are you ready? Smita, one second. She is in Kerala, maybe having some low bandwidth. Smita, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay. I think she has a problem with her network because she
But
is
prior to that, if any
Palakkad.
questions are there, because we have got
Doesn't
another
matter.
10 minutes.
No, it's okay, sir. So I would request Jaya madam to give vote of thanks.
No. Apart from that, if some question answers are there, because we have got 10 minutes, no?
Yeah, okay. That will do.
Yeah. If
I was thinking that we'll give vote of thanks and then we'll continue with the question.
Okay,
Okay,
whatever.
we'll give question answers first,
Yes.
and then if time permits.
Other
It's
will
okay,
be-
Gandhar sir. We can have question answers if somebody has.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, friends. So if you have any questions to ask Gandhar sir, so you may ask. You can raise your hands if you want. Then we can ask directly. Is there anybody who wants to know? Yes, Shilpa, unmute yourself and go ahead. Shilpa Jain,
Yes, sir.
unmute yourself and go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much, Gandhar sir, and thank you all my YVN teachers for the beautiful, wonderful lecture and opportunity. Sir, so as a YVN trained teacher, since I've been taking classes for some time, my question is more, in classes we do take all these Omkar chanting, asanas, pranayams, and other practices, but as a trained YNTC therapist also, when people come with psychosomatic diseases like hypertension and diabetes, and we try to talk more about the mental issues, it is very difficult for the students or the patients to consider those things. They only think that asana and pranayam can make a difference, and over and above that, it is even difficult that if I'm not there for some time, they will not even practice asanas. Most students will say, नहीं कोई कराता है तो ही होता है, खुद से नहीं होता है. So even if they are practicing since a year or 2 years, to make them do on their own also is a challenge. So talking about yam, niyam and meditation or omkar chanting seems far-fetched. So any suggestions that as a teacher we can make sadhakas independent?
Abhyas and Vairagya is what Patanjali has said.
Yes.
I can't really say much beyond that. You can just keep telling them, because in Bhakti Yoga, there's Navada Bhakti. So Shravan, Sankirtan, Smaran, they have to keep listening to this thing, or you have to keep telling them. That will make them remember it, and that will make them think about it and speak about it to someone. That's how the habits change. When I hear that sugar is bad 100 times, then I start thinking, oh, sugar is really bad. Then maybe I start talking about it, and then one day I stop eating sugar. This is a process given in yoga. It's not some kind of new discussion. Now there's this discussion about Alcoholics Anonymous. This is the process. Everyone has to listen how bad alcohol is. Then they have to speak and they have to think about it. That's how they give up alcohol. This is a very well understood process in yoga. So I think that's the only way. You have to keep telling. There is no other way. And if they don't do it, then you can't really do anything about it, because you have a limitation. Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, 62nd verse, Shri Krishna says to Arjuna, Yatheshasi tatha kuru. You asked me all these questions, so I answered. Interesting thing is, Shri Krishna is a teacher of Arjuna for years, but Arjuna never asked him these problems. And when Arjuna asked, it was on the war front. So Shri Krishna explains, and after that Shri Krishna says that, okay, you asked me, I told you. Now it's up to you to do it or not to do it. I can't really take a decision for you, because you have to take responsibility of your karma. We can't take responsibility of the students. They have to do it themselves.
Very true, sir. Even Patanjali is not giving any advice. He's just telling what it is. He's not saying that you should do asana, pranayam for 6 hours, 2 hours, 4 hours, nothing. He's just telling this is this, this is this. Whether to do it or not is completely in your hands. So your well-being is in your hand. Very rightly said, sir. I agree. Is there anybody who wants to have a question? Yes. Prajakta, please go ahead. Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, and Yoga Vidya Niketan for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much, Gandhar sir. I was listening very carefully, and initially someone said that there is another topic that you will discuss about traditional yoga and the exercise-based yoga. So I would like to hear quickly a few points about that. Also, I am also a yoga teacher, but I strongly believe in pranayam and omkar chanting and everything. But there is also a ambition or desire to achieve many fascinating yogic postures like scorpion and Rajakapotasana, this, that. So I'm working on that as well. So can you just guide me? Is this a desire, or is this, the flow is right?
What do you think?
I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
Patanjali has not given any details of the pose. Hatha Yoga has not given any ideal pose. And we all know that every body is different. And too much flexibility of the body is also a medical problem. You're more vulnerable for injuries because of hyper flexibility of the joints. So whatever is you can do. Sthira Sukham Asana. Bas ho gaya. Why you want to do it? And first question about traditional yoga, exercise yoga, it's my research subject. That's what Jayaji mentioned in the introduction. It's my research, it's ongoing research. I'm doing research whether traditional yoga, what you practice in Yoga Vidya Niketan or what we practice in Yoga Vidya Gurukul is traditional yoga. And exercise yoga is more Western countries, how they practice it. So I'm comparing these two, and my initial findings are traditional yoga is much more effective in reducing stress, even one single session. That's my subject. Of course, the findings are not yet out, but this is a preliminary findings that I have.
Okay, we would love to hear about that also over a period of time.
Sure.
Nice. So Prajakta, the answer sir has given is very nice. He said moderation is the key in every aspect of life. Don't stress yourself too much and don't go for the laxity. Moderation is the key in the life, like Bhagavad Gita. Also, Sri Krishna says, Yuktahara viharasya. That is, moderation is the key.
Correct. Absolutely. If you don't talk about lifestyle, Nitinji, nothing is possible.
Yes.
Correct. Very true.
Yeah. Kantilalji, please ask. Please go ahead, Kantilalji. Please go ahead. Hello, we can't hear you, Kantilalji. Raut sir, we can't hear you. Please unmute yourself, sir. You are mute. You are mute, sir. Unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, sir. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Say my question is about the same thing, the traditional yoga, and the most changes which has been done in the recent years. Instead of going to traditional yoga, most of the public is being diverted to the different things, air yoga, hot yoga, then dancing yoga, that is called something. So what should we do to bring the people again back to traditional yoga, which is very, very, very important? The total concept is of yoga is being diverted in a different way, and that is the most crucial problem nowadays. So please help me. What should we do?
We can't really pull them. They have to come on their own. You can keep telling them what is good, but they have to take their decision. I have been to many countries outside India, and the exercise yoga is there for many more years. Say 2004, 5, 6. I'm seeing this in Singapore and in Thailand, in Australia. I'm seeing all of these types. But now the teachers of these Western styles of yoga have actually including more and more traditional yoga components. My first study that is published is actually about this. So I have surveyed about 1,500 teachers from 64 countries. And my conclusion is something very, very interesting for all of us. And the conclusion is, in fact, Sawan sir distributed this survey to Yoga Vidya Niketan teachers also. So thanks to Sawan sir. Sawan sir, that research is published now. So you also have a great contribution from Yoga Vidya Niketan. Thanks to you personally. So that survey, what are the findings of that survey? Let me share that with all of you. It's very interesting. If the teacher's experience is more, forget about Indian teachers. I'm talking about teachers outside who do this Western styles of yoga. If their experience is more, 2 years, 3 years plus, then they include more traditional components such as Omkar chanting, more pranayam, more meditation, more lifestyle practices. If they are young and new, they don't include as much of these practices, and their practice is more focused on these fancy styles. So there is a change that is happening in Western world, which is fantastic for us, because most of our people, they want to follow Westerners. So we are lucky that the Westerners have started following our traditions. So now there is chance that our people will follow them, means our traditions.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, that is true that we are the followers of Westerners for everything, style, everything. And now that is changing. That's a good sign, so that it will happen. Anyway, thank you very much. The time is also over. You are there at it must be 10:30 now. I request now Jaya Madam to quickly give a vote of thanks, and then we'll end the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much from my side. Okay, over to Jaya Madam.
Thank you, Sawan sir, Nitinji. Thank you.
Nitin sir. First of all, a subject like Patanjal Yoga Sutra, you beautifully explained, sir, like how our ancient Indian wisdom is still relevant to deal with our modern lifestyle problems. So when you explain this and you gave it with the scientific evidence, whatever narrations that you gave, your findings, and more importantly, you explained it with the beautiful examples. You know, it was like storytelling, various stories you told us, and then how those principles in the Patanjal Yoga Sutra is applicable to us. I have found out some certain intakes from your lecture in the past one hour. The first and foremost thing is the wonderful insight on how money is important to us because it enables us to gain sensory pleasures. So that insight will also help us in actually understand what our position is. Because many times we tend to mistake between the materialistic gains and the spiritual, whatever is the ultimate happiness, the materialistic happiness and the ultimate happiness. But you related it how the money is important to, you know, how it leads to the sensory pleasures, the indriya pleasures. Then another thing is that the warning that you gave us, that the using social media for more than 90 minutes, how it increases the psychological chances of the psychological problems almost 300 times. That each one of us is really have to think seriously over it. I mean, because 90 minutes is too short a period actually. So that's a deadly sign that you have given us a warning. Then again, you know, this negative vicious circle, like how the stress leads to more sensory pleasures, because that's the shortcut that we seek to deliver. Like, you know, if we to divert our mind whenever we are coping, whenever we are facing any stressful situation, the first tendency is to divert our mind. And then we tend to get the sensory pleasures, maybe watching TV or indulging ourselves into the social media or even eating. Eating is the one thing. The worst thing is that the combination of both, you know, eating and watching TV. So that has again how it leads to the negative vicious circle. The second thing is that you have explained us, like, it's really generally now what happens whenever we talk of yoga, people relate it only to the asana, the more flexible body. Again, in this question answer session also, you gave the wonderful the caution, the more flexibility of the body is also not good for the body. So, but then that is what the general tendency is, that to relate the yoga with the asana only. The confined is mostly confined into the asana and then later on to the pranayama and all that. But then you have given us with your studies like only the 10 minutes of Omkara chanting. How, to cope up with the 10, to get the effects of the 10 minutes of Omkara chanting, like we have to work out for the 40 minutes of the asana and 20 minutes of the meditation. So that is again the good information that we got. And then again, this emotional quotient, like we have, of course, now we have realized the importance of the emotional quotient and how it is more important than the intelligent quotient. So when you explain this Pratipaksha Bhavana, see how this our perception affects the way we think about ourselves and how we perceive the thing. The last example that you gave about showing the film and then later on telling the background of that person's behavior, how it was and how it changes. So that gives us an insight on how we perceive the things change our what we think about the people or the event situations around us. So it was really, we didn't even realize how the 1 hour passed through. It just literally flew with your wonderful explanation and the illustrations that you gave. And once again, the special thanks to you for, in spite of not this time not being so convenient to you. I know it is very late night for you, but still you agreed to accept our invitation and came to us. Thank you once again. Thanks all. And I thank everyone else here for joining and making it a grand success. Thank you very much, sir. I hand it over to Sonali madam for the last Omkar.
Jaya, I think Sonali is disconnected. You can take. Are you there, Sonali?
I'm here. I'm audible?
Yes. You take the Omkar and we'll end the session.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Gandhar sir for appreciating me. I know you don't like to say you sir. We met at, if you remember, I met you in Nashik. Okay. We wind up the session as per our Yoga Vidya Niketan tradition with one Omkar. So please sit erect with back straight. Take your shoulder back. And gently close your eyes. Feel blessed to have experienced such a beautiful lecture. Take a deep inhalation. Om. Feel the positive vibration of Omkar on your body and mind. Slowly open your eyes. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much. We will end the meeting here. Thank you, sir.
Sonali, end the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Yes.